Good morning to you all. Glad to have you with us this morning. The beautiful song that Jordan did such a great job of sharing with us is really an appropriate one for this morning. Especially everything that's been going on right now politically and civilly in our country. I've had lots of thoughts swirling around in my head this week about the civil unrest in our country and the top politicians that are promoting a giant division in our country right now. You know, I was in high school. I watched this country being torn apart for getting into a war that the country felt we shouldn't have been involved in. I spent my time, like thousands of others, young men and women, in a country that we didn't come back from as victors. In fact, we were literally run out of the country when Saigon fell in 1976. And I also remember the race riots in the 1960s, discrimination that was prevalent in our country, especially in the South. I remember the desegregation that took place and a certain governor that refused to allow that to happen. I remember stories of the killing and bombings and the riots that were supported by the KKK and the supremacy groups across our country at that time. The Pharisees found in our passage this morning think they have all the answers, reference the law and how to apply it. Well, they're really a group that were just out to get Christ at the expense of another person, no matter what the cost. The anthem this morning should make us all stop and rethink where we are in our Christian pilgrimage, in our walk today. I also like to know what the music for our anthems are ahead of time for a couple of reasons. One, because it may be music I haven't heard before, and secondly, the message may be incorporated in that music. The anthem that Jordan shared with us this morning is very timely, according to Mark Hall, who's the lead vocalist for Casting Crown. And the story behind the song from June of 2007, he says, does anybody hear her? Speaks of a girl who's making decisions about how the Christian church is not there for her. Hall begins to write the song around 2000 about a girl in his youth group, ultimately encompassed around 15 to 20 girls, who, due to their fathers not being there for them, tried to find intimacy elsewhere, ultimately giving themselves away to the first person who loved them. Paul says that we, the Christian church, attach identities to people, saying, it's too late to reach this person, or this person here, there's still some good there, so we ought to try on this one. Or, this one's a lost cause, we just need to get him out of here. You know, that's a scary place to be if you're that person, if you don't make the church's list. Kim Jones and Jared Johnson in Casting Crown Life song write, lyrically the song relates to the story of a young woman who is being pushed away by the Christian church. Dave McCrary, in an article, Another Crowning Achievement, in 2005 says, it delivers a message that condemning other people is wrong, and it should be followed by a comment, and that the Christian church is being too judgmental of pregnant teenagers. And that came from Russ Bremer in Life Song, a Christian Music Review. Then you have Jay Stonewall in Fan the Flame, who says that in contrast to the two commandments of Christ, the Pharisees had developed a system of 613 laws, 365 of them negative commands, 248 positive laws. By the time Christ came, it produced a heartless, cold, and arrogant brand of righteousness. As such, it contained at least 10 flagrant and tragic flaws. One, new laws continually need to be invented for new situations. Two, accountability to God is replaced by accountability to man. Three, it reduces a person's ability to personally discern. Four, it creates a judgmental spirit. Five, the spirits confuse personal preferences with divine law. Six, it produced inconsistencies. Seven, it creates a false standard of righteousness. Eight, it became a burden to the laws. Nine, it was strictly external. And 10, it was rejected by Christ. This made me begin to think of a story Reverend Brett Blair, who tells of a young lady who was soaking up the sun's rays on a Florida beach. A little boy in his swimming trunks, carrying a towel, comes up to her and asks her, "Do you believe in God?" And she was surprised at the question, but said, "Yes, why? I do." And then he asked her, "Do you go to church every Sunday?" Again, she answered, "Yes." Then he said, "Do you read the Bible and pray every day?" And again, she said, "Yes." And by now, her curiosity was very much aroused. Little lad stood there and sighed with relief, and he said, "Will you hold my quarter while I go swimming?" The little boy was straightforward and honest in his question because he wanted to entrust to the lady something valuable. The Pharisees were not being honest. They had no intent of entrusting Jesus with anything. They're not looking for answers to a question. They didn't want somebody to hold a quarter. They're looking for a way to get rid of this troublemaking Nazarene named Jesus. The Pharisees were so blind with anger. Think for a moment about the ironies here. We know, because we live on this side of the resurrection, that Jesus was God. They thought he was demonic, an agent of Satan. We know that Jesus is the King of Kings. They thought he wanted to be King of Israel. We know that he's the Son of God. They thought he was just simply the son of Mary and Joseph. And we know that Jesus has influenced the world for over 2,000 years. They thought his influence would end at the cross. The Jewish leaders saw themselves as an elite group that alone had the truth. And they resisted the truth about Christ because it wasn't theirs to begin with. You know, it's easy to think that we have the truth and that those who disagree with us don't have any truth at all. But God's truth is available to everyone. We need to be careful that we don't copy the Pharisees' self-centered and narrow attitude. Now we read that Nicodemus apparently had become a secret believer. Since most of the Pharisees hated Jesus and wanted to kill him, Nicodemus risked his reputation and high position when he spoke up for Christ. His statement was bold. The Pharisees immediately became very suspicious. But Nicodemus confronted the Pharisees with their failure to keep their own laws. The Pharisees were losing ground. The temple guards came back impressed by Jesus in verse 746. And one of the Pharisees' own, Nicodemus, was defending him. With their hypocritical motives began being exposed, their prestige slowly eroding, they began to move to protect themselves. Pride interfered with their ability to reason. And soon they became obsessed with getting rid of Jesus just to save face. What was good and right no longer mattered. Sounds like what we're going through right now in our own government administration. The Jewish leaders had already disagreed, but the law was, disregarded the law by arresting the woman without the man. And the law required that both parties to adultery be stoned, as found in Leviticus and Deuteronomy. The leaders were using the woman as a trap so they could trick Jesus. If Jesus said the woman should not be stoned, they accused him of violating Moses' law. If he urged him to execute her, they reported to the Romans, who didn't permit Jews to carry out their own executions. This is a significant statement about judging others. Because if Jesus upheld the legal penalty for adultery stoning, he could not be accused of being against the law. But by saying that only a sinless person could throw the first stone, he highlighted the importance of compassion and forgiveness. When others are caught in sin, are you quick to pass judgment? Because to do so is to act as though you have never sinned yourself. It is God's role to judge, not ours. Our role is to show forgiveness and compassion. The story of the adulterous woman may be the main theme of our passage this morning, but the story itself reinforces the constant theme that's been evolving this past week. If you continue in John's Gospel, it says in 3:16 and 17, to paraphrase, that Christ was not sent to condemn the world. This calls into question any kind of judging and condemning labels that cause others to be looked at as outcasts or outsiders or second class. God didn't send his Son into the world to create outcasts, outsiders, and second-class people. He sent us to celebrate the unity and diversity of many people of many backgrounds and beliefs. The point of the story is that Jesus is critical only of those who self-righteously condemn others. He says, let him who is without sin cast the first stone at him. Today we use the expression that people who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. But Jesus is warning us against our holier-than-thouism in any and all form. Christ is questioning our right to turn anyone out and turn anyone into an outcast, an outsider, or a second-class member of humanity. But you know, we've been doing that for decades and generations in many different ways. Even today, we still do it. From the top of our government, our local authorities, to even as Christians. And we should know better, because we know what Christ says about doing it. Our government today can be compared to the Pharisees of Christ's day. All these years and decades, and we still haven't learned the lesson that Christ taught us about not making outcasts and outsiders of others. We just keep doing it. Some of the things I've seen on the internet in the recent days, how people treat each other is horrifically appalling. It was the Apostle Paul in Galatians 3:38 who said, there is no slave nor free. There is neither man nor female. For you are all one in Christ Jesus. Carl Yeck in Channeling Grace shares a recent survey of inactive church members that found that many felt that the church should improve its ministry by being more accepting of different kinds of people and different lifestyles. In fact, one of the most successful churches in San Francisco is Glide Memorial Methodist Church that celebrates pluralism. And when its pastor, Cecil Williams, received the Social Justice Award, he said, it's dangerous to be just with your own kind. The church must say, I accept you as you are, not I'll accept you when you're like me. It's been noted that the baby boomer generation tends to be more accepting of non-traditional lifestyles. Must we not face the fact that true mission is not simply the same as promoting tradition? Must we not expand our horizons on what it means to be channels for God's grace? Reverend Williams' vision of the 21st century can be seen in Glide's unique and powerful blend of spiritually principled compassion and cutting-edge programs for those most in need. With a membership of over 11,000, those sharing Williams' dream have made Glide, located in the heart of the city's toughest neighborhoods, one of the fastest growing United Methodist churches in America. Every Sunday, people of all races, ethnic backgrounds, cultures, social classes, age, faith, and sexual orientation join together to experience the energy of spiritual liberated couples, with a fusion of jazz and blues and gospel formed at each celebration for the Glide Ensemble Choir and Change Band. They are transforming the idea of a church's role in contemporary society by opening its doors for everyone with unconditional love and acceptance. In his over 50 years as pastor, he challenged his congregation to take action by feeding the hungry, providing outreach for runaways, prostitutes, and drug addicts, and performing same-sex unions for the lesbian and gay community, one of the first ministers to take part and take a stand in same-sex couples. In 2008, he received a National Caring Award. To this very day, Glide Memorial Methodist Church challenges inequities and stands for the poor, people of all ethnicity, the LGBTQ persons, and others facing oppression, isolation, and stigma. while offering a holistic, integrated model of programs and services to address the complex needs of the community. You know, we could be a hardcore, bully, law and order society like the Pharisees, or we could take a step back and look at what brought the problem on. We can also continue to bring division and suffering, violence, and people made to feel like second-class citizens, outcasts and outsiders. Or we can put things in perspective as Christ did. Reverend Maxie Dunham suggests staying prayerful in the presence of Jesus for a while as he kneels in silence for the accusers to boil their self-righteous anger as he writes that mystery word in the sand. I would ask you to live prayerfully with his word. He's without sin, let him cast the first stone. The spirit world of sin and evil is shaped and fed by wrong choices, relished hatreds, indulged selfishness, aggressive hostility, and resentment. And that releases poison in ourselves and through us to others. In the end of our reading this morning, Jesus says to this woman, "Woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you?" "No, sir," she says. "Neither do I condemn you," Jesus declared. "Go now and leave your life of sin." Dunham says, retrospectively, life sin and evil may not be our responsibility. But prospectively, from now on, how we respond to wrongness and sin and pain and suffering is our responsibility. How we respond will either feed and shape and energize the spirit world of evil, or will break that destructive cycle and release love and mercy and hope. That's what Jesus did when he forgave the woman taken in adultery. That's what he did when he was hanging beside a thief on the cross. The cross was a shout of God's cry, "Love you and I forgive you." Love and forgiveness were personified and pronounced for all history in that lonely, bleeding figure on the cross. Jesus could have retaliated, you know. He could have called down legions of angels to rescue him from the horror. But he didn't. For God so loved us, he sent his Son to save us. Will you believe it? Will you order your life according to the truth of it? Love and forgiveness is the only power that can break the cycle of sin and evil. It's the only power that can save us in our society today. And that's what Jesus is calling us to do when he said, "He who is without sin, let him cast the first stone." And so, as we used to say when I was younger, a double dog dare you to begin to live in that fashion and participate with Jesus taking away the sins of the world. Amen.